Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. It's that time again where I bring you my tips, facts, or experience that you may or may not find helpful. Phase 2 of the Dragonflight pre-patch is here! Here is a short list of a few things I am excited for that are coming today. So, number 1, we have the DRACTHYR Evoker, race and class. And they have their own starting zone and all the lore you can read behind them. Lots of fun to be had here. This is pretty awesome, and I know I'm going to be spending quite a while customizing my DRACTHYR. They look amazing. They have some awesome options, lots of variety. You can go wild with it. Now, to note, you do need to pre-order Dragonflight if you want access today on the DRACTHYR Evoker, but otherwise, you know, go wild with this. Also starting in pre-patch phase 2, we have the official event of Elemental Primalist Invasions. Just like the name suggests, the Elementals are invading various parts of Azeroth, and these are Primalist ones straight from the Dragon Isles, and they have some unique models. They look pretty cool. Now, these invasions, scattered across different areas in Azeroth, the Old World Azeroth, Eastern Kingdoms, and Kalimdor. The point is to do these to take down a bunch of mobs, take down the boss, and while you're doing so, you will get this currency called PRIMEVAL Essence. The best part is this essence is account bound. It's a physical currency that goes into your bags, so you can farm it across multiple alts and not have to feel, restricted there. That's pretty awesome. Now, what you can do with this PRIMEVAL Essence is take it to a vendor found on the docks in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, depending on your faction, and buying anything you want from this vendor. That vendor has a myriad of 252 item level blue quality gear for all 4 armor sets, and there's weapons and trinkets, and it looks like rings and possibly necks too, and cloaks, whole bunch of stuff. And while the item level isn't that great by, some folks' standards, the important thing is the transmog here, because this is a unique color, likely only obtainable during pre-patch. While the model is, we have variants of it from the Dragon Isles that we can get there, this coloration is likely only for pre-patch. So you definitely want to collect all of that. And remember, the PRIMEVAL Essence is account bound, so you can farm up a whole bunch like on your main or something, and then send it to alts and just buy the stuff, which is pretty awesome. It looks like, since this does include weapons, huzzah! Each item is 25 to 45 PRIMEVAL Essence per item, which is not bad at all. That's a pretty good price, honestly. There's a toy for 100 Essence, and a reagent bag, a 20 slot, it looks like, for 5 Essence. So that's what you can get on the vendor. And to note, while you're farming PRIMEVAL Essence from the invasions, I have been told that gear can drop from the bosses. I'm not sure of the drop rate though, because I, during my tests, was not lucky enough to get any to drop. But that's okay. And also to note, something else you can get from these invasions is something called Dimmed Primeval. You'll notice that there's going to be 1 from each different boss type, 1 from each of the 4 elements, so there's 4 total. And these are also account bound, so you can get them on alts if needed. But you need 1 of each type, 1 from each boss, to combine into a special heirloom trinket. Yes, we can get a unique heirloom trinket, again, likely only from pre-patch, so definitely go get your hands on that. I got 1 piece pretty easy. All of the events that I did were frost, so I don't know what the drop rate is, but I got 1 of the shards on my very first invasion, so that's pretty cool. Something else going to be available in Phase 2 is a dungeon. The new version of ULDAMAN, Legacy of Tyr, which is pretty cool, just even in the name. And don't worry, it's not replacing the old ULDAMAN, it is a separate instance. And this version of it appears to be for level 60 only, and you can queue for it in the specific dungeon finder, so that's good. And to note, don't worry, it doesn't look like it'll be going away, because it does appear to be a part of the Dragonflight dungeon roster. So I don't believe it's, you know, pre-patch only. We just get early access to this cool dungeon, I think because of lore implications. And speaking of lore, even if you don't really care about dungeons, you might want to do this one because there are 5 unique lore books, which we actually get to keep, by the way. They go into your bags, found in this dungeon relating to tier, keepers, and various other information on Titan type stuff. And no spoilers, but let me just say, it's pretty juicy. You might want to read it if you're into this lore. I know I am, and looks pretty epic. Oh, and to note, if you were a little bummed about the item level of the Primalist gear from the invasions, from this dungeon you can get 278 blue quality gear, so that's quite a bit higher than the vendor one. So there's that if you care about item level. And the last thing coming that I know of that is here with Phase 2 are leveling changes. That's right, leveling changes. Most of this is pretty exciting. We have CHROMIE time, which will now scale all the way up to level 60. Huzzah! So if you were tired of leveling in Shadowlands, you can now level to 60 on your alts in, well, anywhere else. So that's World's your oyster on that one. It'll be available even on your 50, so that's pretty cool. Additionally, if you want to go back to Shadowlands, Shadowlands itself has been added to CHROMIE time. But there is also a downside to that. Threads of Fate has been removed. You can only do the linear restricted questline campaign now through the 4 zones. So no moving around the zones freely anymore. That's a major bummer, but if you liked the campaign, then that is an option. On top of all that, BFA leveling zones will also now scale to 60. And that's separate because remember, that's not part of CHROMIE time. BFA zones are real time, quote unquote. That's non-CHROMIE time. A little confusing, I know. But those are also being scaled to level 60. But that's just the 6 leveling zones. That does not include Nazjatar, Mechagon, raids, or heroic and mythic dungeons. I checked all that, and from what I can see, all of those are still level 50 capped. You know, rares might be like 52, 53, but they don't scale all the way up to 60, so that's good, because I know that was a concern. However, normal dungeons do seem to scale to 60. Every normal dungeon I went into, all of the mobs were 60, but it's just normal, and I mean, those won't be hard at level 70, I would imagine anyways, so that's not too much of a concern, honestly. And, with all that said, now that 10 more levels have been added to CHROMIE time, from what I've seen, the entire 1 to 60 range has had its total required XP lowered to compensate for the new 10 levels. So you know how it took like 4 to 6 hours or so to get from 50 to 60? While Shadowlands was live, that will not be the case anymore. It's squished down to fit in with the rest of CHROMIE time, so it'll fly by now. And I think that about wraps up what is here with pre-patch Phase 2. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's all of the event stuff. All of the account type UI, talenty things came with Phase 1. So if you haven't looked at those, that's already here. You can check that out. But this is all the fun goodies that are coming with this phase. So that's pretty awesome. And to note, we only have, 13 days for this pre-patch? 13 days until launch at this point, at the release of this video when this Phase 2 is starting. So if you want that pre-patch specific stuff, you better get that first. It doesn't look like it's going to be very hard to farm, but I'm going to focus on that first myself, just to make sure, since we don't have a lot of time. It's a very short pre-patch event, so make sure you get your priorities straight if you're a collector. But other than that, this all looks pretty awesome. If there's something else you know of that's coming with this phase that I haven't talked about, go ahead and mention it in the comments. This is all the event type stuff I could find, so happy pre-patch day, happy Phase 2 pre-patch day, and we're getting close to Dragonflight, guys! Yee! And there we have it. If you think I've missed information, or you want to request I do a specific guide, let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't answer you, I just might add your idea to my list. As always, Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.